thank you, O God, for every encouraging and often frightening opportunities of illumination that come into our days. Help us, O Lord, to respond appropriately to each experience of epiphany that you provide. Amen.
Amen.
Epiphany is such a great word. Isn't it just a wonderful word? We attach it to this, I know today's just the 10th day of Christmas, but Epiphany is the 12th day of Christmas, January, 6th? Yeah, January the 6th is Epiphany, the 12th day of Christmas. But we celebrate it on this Sunday, and we listen to the story of the Magi, and we celebrate how in the doing of their journey, these Gentile wise persons leaving from probably the Babylonian area, Persian area, traveling from the east, heading to Jerusalem, because they observed the rising of the star, and the belief is that someone great, someone of great majesty and importance, the world's going to be a new and different place with the birth of this person. So they travel, and we don't know how long they may have traveled. It was a whole obviously it was a big caravan. And they get to Jerusalem. Hey, King Herod, the current person having the job, we're here to welcome the new king. What? Excuse me, I'm the person in the job right now, and now you're telling me somebody is about to come and take my place? I don't think so. Oh, but tell me where you find him so that I too may pay homage, he says, right? We've heard the story. We know his intentions are nefarious at the least, and I love that as the reading, the gospel lesson, the pericope, the story of the Magi goes from verse 1, I believe, to verse 21. So please be sure to read it in its entirety, because at the end of that section of the story of the Magi, they get to Bethlehem. They bring their gifts to the baby Jesus, and an angel or a vision tells them, go home a different way. And I think that in itself is a sermon that preaches itself, that you and I can really take advantage of and relish in our own personal epiphanies. Because when you and I have epiphanies, as a matter of fact, I'm going to plant this seed now, and I'm going to come back around to it in a few minutes. I'm going to ask you to be thinking of epiphanies, in particularly a predominant epiphany that has happened in your personal experience that caused you in your life's journey to say, I need to go home a different way. Okay? All right, so, you got your homework assignment? Okay, so be thinking about that. And so that means you don't have to listen to the rest of what I'm saying, you'll be thinking about it. But I do want to point out a couple of things that I appreciate out of this text. The Magi came prepared to bring gifts to this Messiah, this Christ that has come into the world. throughout the Christmas season, throughout the Advent and now Epiphany season, we are celebrating Emmanuel, God with us. That God decided, out of God's grace and mercy and abundant love for us, to choose to say, I'm going to become flesh and fully experience the human experience. I want to be among and with you. So Emmanuel is what we celebrate in the Christmas season. God with us. God coming to be among us, in us and with us. And in the doing of that, God is giving God's self to each of us. Giving. So much in our current culture, in our current society, it's about what do I get? The getting of gifts. So Christmas and all of its hype, what am I gonna get? And the anguish of, oh my God, what am I gonna find to give so that is person appropriate? I think we talked about that the other day. It's so easy to just get a gift card and call it a day. And we talked about that last week. So rather than doing that, the idea is to invest in getting to know the person to whom the gift is going, and then it has more meaning, more substance, more authenticity to it. So when God gives God's self to us, that is a gift that is unmatchable. How when we think of the magnitude of that kind of mercy and grace, that God would say, here I am, I give myself to you, not only in a manger, but on Calvary's cross. I give myself completely to you out of my love for you. And then I'm thinking, no, God, a gift card to you just ain't gonna cut it. Right? I gotta, but I'm really grateful, because one of the commentators made it interesting that the gift that we would return to God isn't so much a gift that we are returning, but it's sacramental. It's us emulating God's generosity. That's different than, oh, you've given me, so I got to give back to you. Because you can't match that. You can't compete with that, right? When somebody gives you $1 billion, there's no way you're going to match that back, other than a quid pro quo. I got $1 million, I'm going to give it right back. So the graciousness of God, the generosity of God, is an invitation from God to you and I to participate in God's generosity. So as opposed to thinking that I've got to give back to God, like every time the offering plate comes around, this is, God, I'm giving back, this is my thank you to you for... let's don't even go there. Instead, say, how do I emulate and participate in God's generosity? God, since you've been so generous to me, let me demonstrate that I am your follower, your believer, and I too want to then be a generous person in my giving and in my living. And so when the Magi came to Jesus, they weren't trying to return gifts to God to match the gift that has been given or received. It was gifts to honor. It even says that we may pay homage, is the wording. And so we celebrate that giving of that gift. So that's it's a touch on stewardship, but I don't want to count that. You guys wouldn't let me count it anyway. So the giving dynamic is an opportunity for you and I to participate in God's generosity. But in order to do that and to take that leap of faith, we each have to have that realization, that we have to recognize, we have to have an epiphany. It has graciousness and gratitude has to have hit us in order for us to get that we too must, no, not must, because that makes it obligatory, that we have the opportunity to give back as we've been given. It can't be obligatory. Even in Corinthians it says, let every person according to his heart, not grudgingly, nor out of obligation or of necessity, give, for God loveth a cheerful, gracious, grateful giver. So the Magi are doing this. They bring their gifts to the house where Mary and Joseph and the baby are, and they lay them at the feet. And so they have got it. They as Gentiles are coming to this Jewish baby saying, we see the hope and the promise that is before us. And so we are going to participate and join in this generosity. And then they get this vision, they get the message to go home a different way. When I'm trying to think of a time when an epiphany, I would hope that each of us has multiple epiphanies, times of illumination. In my reflection, I wrote, epiphany is a great word. In its various meanings, it encapsulates aspects of illumination, both physical and spiritual. I believe that epiphanies happen constantly. The account of the Magi shows us this. I believe that not only can we experience epiphanies, we can also be them for others. Once illumined, we too become a source of illumination. If I've allowed myself to have a light bulb in my spirit, in my soul, in my head, in my heart, I then have experienced illumination and I have been illumined. I then have the possibility of then being light to someone else. Anybody got some illumination moments where you went home a different way because you got hit with, oh man, I didn't realize, I didn't know, now I gotta go. So, all right, yes?
At the age of 54, I did a 180-degree turn, came out of the college.
Okay, epiphany, no, sure, epiphany. Couldn't, and you can't go home a different way. Once you know, you can. Anybody else? Yes.
I might realize that I can be gay and
Yes, Lordy. Can sure enough relate to that one, but that's a start. Yes, anyone else? Nobody's in epiphany. Nobody's in a picture. Epiphany. Yes.
Well, I just had this from yesterday that so much of what I perceive or how I look at things is a story, and it's a story that I made up, and that I have a choice about what kind of story I make up about things. I can make a good story or I can make a bad story.
You have the power.
It's up to me to pick the one that suits me, so to speak, or that serves, I shouldn't say suits me, but that serves me better as a person.
Okay. Amen. Thank you. Anyone else? Epiphanies? Erica jumping at the bit back there. No. I offer, as I come to a close, unless someone else has another one, anyone, that the moment the light bulb comes on, even in the little things, we were outside trying to find the lever to open up the hood of Dave's car. Little things, you know, where you go like, oh, that's where it is. Oh, or that's how we do that. Or this is how, and you have to make, you and I have to make a difficult decision at that moment. It sometimes would seem to be an obvious decision, but yet and still we have to be intentional about making the decision of going a different direction. I think that's what your point is, Yaviga, that if I've been doing it this way, and then an epiphany, or sometimes epiphanies come in the form of these big giant obstacles, a big brick wall. Sometimes an epiphany can take the form of out of nowhere, a door opens of opportunity. We're standing there at that moment having to decide, do we keep walking into this brick wall or do we go through the open door? The light that Isaiah in chapter 60 is saying, arise, shine, for your light has come. Your epiphany is before you. Choose to allow it to illumine your path. Would you please pray with me? In spite, O God, of oftentimes the thick darkness that covers our earth and our lives, you provide us hope and bring into our lives moments and experiences of illumination to give us hope. Grant us, O God, the courage to move forward toward the light that you provide, to direct our paths. And, O Lord, even more so, as you illumine us, help us to be the light of your love for others. Amen.